Tech heads, back once again. This week, we hit you with the weird history of JavaScript, as well as its impact in the world of web development, and even some basics. I share something cool that I got in the mail recently, and we discuss dreaming in code. This is Tech Heads.
4, 3, 2, 1. So, here we go.
How you gonna feel tonight?
All right, well, we're back for another episode. Episode 15, I believe. I hope that's right. I think last episode is 14, so this should be 15. Joining with me, as always, is Anna. Did you get a haircut? It looks like you got a haircut.
I did, but actually I got it straightened, so I look a bit different. I've done it a few times, but I don't know if you've ever seen it. So yeah, that's what the difference is.
Oh yeah, wait. So weren't you supposed to go to Lemon Shark when you get your when you got your? But the bad news,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was very much looking forward to this past Monday because my plan was to go to work, and then once I logged off around like 4 or 5, I was gonna run to Lemon Shark and grab, some dinner before going to the hairdresser at like 6:30.
Well, what is Lemon Shark?
Okay, yeah. So for the folks, I don't know if it's like a national chain or just like a regional here in Florida, but Lemon Shark, they have poke bowls and salad bowls and stuff like that. So that was one of the places that Victor and I used to go to eat on Fridays when we worked together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I introduced it to you, right?
You did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
it was a bummer because I remember I was looking like on the map app just to kind of like see how, like what the traffic was like there. And then I said on the app that it was permanently closed. And I was like, oh no.
Such a bummer.
It really is. Unfortunately, like I think obviously, it was just another casualty from COVID. Not to compare, real casualties. That was probably the worst things I could have said, but you know what I mean, right? It was one of those things where I guess it just like suffered as a result of like being closed for so long. And unfortunately, like I read some of the reviews before it closed, how the quality of the food had gone down a lot. They didn't have as many options, so. Unfortunately, it came to an end. I don't know if they have the other location by UCF, but that's way too far for me. So I'll just have to find another place.
Brutal. That sauce was like what really got me hooked on it.
Exactly. Their lemon shark, like it was a citrusy or I don't know, a kind of sauce, but it was so good. I don't know if I'll be able. I think I'm just gonna Google it and try to make it myself.
Yeah. Trying to make poke yourself? The sauce. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, the sauce, but I think, I don't know, because there is a difference between the fish. Like if I go to the store and get, salmon fillets, but sushi grade fish is different. It's better because you're eating it raw.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I'll probably have to find like a market or something to go there and buy fresh fish, like early on in the day or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that there are a couple of other poke places around. I'll just have to find another one. It's just that Orlando is not that interesting. It's not like the greatest food scene, I think, unless you go to downtown, So
if that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Asian food, and I feel like I struggle a lot, especially living here in like Davenport, Champions Gate area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just destroyed some biscuits and gravy, so I'm a little sleepy right now, but trying to get perked up. Also had to get the mimosa, so.
Ooh. I'm having water because I had some apple pie and ice cream, and it was so sweet. Now I'm like, oh, man.
Nice. Yeah, we were just talking about how annoying it is that like, because the place that we really wanted biscuits and gravy from had like a 2-hour wait. And then the second place that we had like an hour and a half wait. So then we settled for the worst place, which was like 20 minutes. And It was closer than all of them, I guess, but still, like, it was just like they always do something different every time. So like last time they put just like a heavy scoop of just mushrooms on top of the biscuits and gravy. And it was just like, why would you do that? Which they had never done in the past because we've had it a couple times. But then today they decided, like, let's just throw on a crap ton of cheese on top of the biscuits and gravy. It's just like, you don't do that usually. Why are you just like throwing like random crap in there? It's so annoying. So
yeah. Well, like you said, I mean, even having to settle for food, that's like never fun, you know, because you have the expectation that you're gonna get something, and then you kind of have to go with like that the closest thing to it, but not exactly what you wanted.
Yeah. Well, that it led us to go there. That everywhere here has like the longest wait all the time to get your food like picked up and whatnot, or like if you want to eat outside. But I don't get why everywhere has the longest wait ever. Like, I had never experienced this sort of busyness in Florida to this level, I think. It's so weird.
Right.
And, like, it's funny because, like, I don't think a lot of places closed down here because, like, to-go orders, a lot of restaurants were saying that, like, they're doing just as good as before. But, you know, there are, I know, like, definitely restaurants that closed down because I could name a couple. But even still, like, what's the deal? Like, get more people to work maybe, or I don't know, just like pick it up, please.
Right.
It's like
crazy
to me that you can like actually have people waiting for 2 hours before you even get your food.
No, I would not be happy at all. Like, I already struggle waiting 20, 30 minutes. I don't know where we went. Yeah, I think we went out for Mother's Day. That was like a few weekends ago. And, you know, obviously I was going to go wherever my mom wanted to go. And we sat down at the place. It was a new spot that we hadn't been to, and she wanted to check it out. So we sat down, ordered everything, and it took a while to get the food. I was like, oh, God, I mean, can we just leave and, you know, let's just pay for whatever we got so far, and then let's just find somewhere else because, but I understand that it was like a busy day anyway, you know, so I felt like if we left to go somewhere else, it would have been just as bad. So
yeah, that's the thing. You always think like, let's just go somewhere else, but then it ends up being like the same exact amount of time.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's also Memorial Weekend, so maybe that's why it's feeling extra busy.
Yeah, exactly. We have oh my God, what's the name of the breakfast chain? Oh my God. I forget the name of the place. You know what? First Watch. Yeah. So there's one literally outside of the gate here because there, you know, some restaurants and, you know, places right across, like right when you exit the our front gate, and there's a First Watch right there, and it's incredibly busy every single day of the week.
Yeah.
It's like a random Monday, and there are like lines of like people waiting outside to get seated. So I didn't even notice what it was like this morning because we kind of went the other way when Sam and I went out. So,
sure.
But I'm sure that it was crazy busy, like for, you know, good part of or pretty much the whole time that they were open. So yeah, but
I miss that place. I miss having like a Southern style sort of breakfast joint to go to that is consistent and good.
Right. They're opening a Kiki's up the street. You remember Kiki's?
No, Kiki's or TT?
Yeah, no, Kiki's. You've never been to one?
Yeah, I have been to Kiki's.
Oh,
yeah.
They have huge pancakes.
To me, Kiki's is like a budget First Watch.
It is, yeah. I've been to Kiki's. I think I probably have been to both of the same number of times, really. But because we tend to make breakfast at home, like whatever we feel like eating, we'll just make it.
Yeah.
Unless it's something really specific, you know, like I don't know, eggs Benedict. I probably wouldn't even try to make that, but yeah, for like pancakes, eggs, you know, bacon, that kind of stuff, we'll just make it at home. But yeah, they're actually opening a whole bunch of restaurants by where we live. It's going to be like so different in a couple of months or like, you know, a few years because it used to be pretty spread out, and now they're just like developments and apartments going up everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, but you're moving, so you're not even going to be
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're moving. Yes. I can't wait to get, away a little bit from all this traffic that we've had to deal with here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited. We're making some plans of like how we're gonna decorate the new place and everything.
Yeah, us too. We've been talking about the style we want to go for, and one of the ideas is like, I don't know, some sort of Dutch thing,
Oh, cool.
Dutch style, which I don't even know how to define. I imagine it's kind of colorful in a way, but I don't really know.
Tulips everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because our place right now is like boring Swedish. 'Cause it's like not even good IKEA stuff. Yeah.
We just went to IKEA this morning and picked up a few things, but there wasn't anything that was like incredibly different. It's pretty much the same thing all the time. Like those shelves,
Yeah.
those are probably like the top sellers that they have, and some of the dressers or drawer units, that kind of
Yep.
stuff. Yeah, but yeah, we found a few things. I've been it's funny, but for the past couple of weeks I've been really into tiny mugs. Like not tiny, but like little
Oh.
mugs,
Yeah.
They're I don't have one to show you now, but show me the one that I got one on my birthday last week. Oh, there you go. See, that one is extremely cute. Oh.
I use it for espresso shots.
Right. Yeah. I got one last week because we went out and then I really liked it. It has like I think it's from Norway, like the Norway store at Disney at Epcot.
Oh,
And
okay.
we got it from the store there. And then today at IKEA, I was like, oh man, I want to look for tiny mugs. So I found some smaller mugs there too that were, a good price. They're pretty cheap.
Mhm.
So I've been into those because we collected the other Disney mugs and stuff like that, but those are like really big. And I feel like I end up, my coffee always gets cold because I let it sit. It's like I pour myself too much coffee. So I feel like if I pour less coffee, I don't know, it will also get me to get up and get a refill, move a little more during the day. So I think that,
Oh,
it's a good
that's
idea.
smart. That is really, really
Right.
smart. Okay.
And they're cute. I mean, it's mainly because
And they're
they're cute,
cute.
you know?
It's good. It's good that you're justifying it that way. It's cool. I like
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Might have to get more tiny mugs. Maybe we'll do
Right.
it. Maybe we can make a tech heads tiny mug.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, do you have any more pins? Or did you just make the
And
one?
no, I think that I'm pretty sure that Sam made me some. Oh my gosh, I told you I was gonna mail you some. I have to. I'm so sorry if I haven't yet. I totally forgot about it.
I
It
forgot
was
about it
earlier
until
in the
just
year.
now, so.
Yeah, no, I'll look for it. I think that she gave me more. If she didn't, then we'll make some more and then I'll send you some.
Oh, heck
Because
yeah.
I still have it on my backpack. I mean, when she gave it to me, I put it on there and it never came off. So
Heck yeah.
yeah, right.
Not for the fans. Sorry.
Oopsie. Not yet. Maybe one day we'll have like a merch store or something.
That's up to you guys listening, though.
Yeah, seriously. You guys have to request it.
Yeah, give us some reviews, please. We have like 6 reviews, maybe.
I know. Tell us that you love our logo and then we'll start putting it everywhere. Hats, t-shirts, tiny mugs.
Also tell us if you don't like it. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm actually representing the logo today. I'm wearing purple, so
Oh, nice.
Rapping.
I'm wearing a different podcast shirt right now.
What a traitor.
I know. It's not a competitor though. They don't
No.
even know what a computer is. They talk about skateboarding, so
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
So I don't think we have any competition. But anyway, speaking of podcasts, we're doing a podcast now, but today we're talking about JavaScript.
Woo.
So before we actually like go into like what JavaScript really is, because we did briefly touch on it in the Big Three episode with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, the triad of tech, I guess.
Right.
I do want to go deeper on the history of it. So I'm actually not old enough to personally recount my experience during these years, so I had to do a little digging on the internet for this stuff. But what I found is that it all started when Al Gore actually introduced the Gore Bill which provided funding for the first mainstream browser, which was called Mosaic. And it's funny because like there's this video of Al Gore introducing the bill or talking about it in an interview, and he straight up was like, "Yeah, I created the internet." I was like, "What?"
Damn.
All right, like shots fired to the people who actually did it. But
Right, yeah.
yeah, this browser called Mosaic was developed by these two guys in college named Mark Andreessen, I think is how you say it, Andreessen, and Eric Bina at the University of Illinois. I don't know what year they were in, but they were, going there.
Yeah.
So the Unix ports first came in 93, like early 93, and then later that same year for like Mac and Windows. So still not, oh, okay, so they were seniors, I guess, then, because Mark graduated in 93 from University of Illinois and decided to move to California so he could start this thing called Netscape, which I think if you're a little older, you know what it is. I don't know, but I guess it's like another browser. And since you're a big browser head, have you ever touched Netscape or used it or Mosaic or any of those?
No, I mean, Netscape sounds familiar, but I never used it. I think my first browser was Internet Explorer.
Nice. Well, anyways, Mark started to get bored of his experience with these browsers because there was no life to them. So they actually turned to Java in hopes that it could actually help them give life to these browsers and make that happen. But of course, they discovered that this was a terrible idea. So in 95, they recruited this guy named Brandon Ike, whose job it was to put the Scheme programming language in the browser, but make the syntax look a little more like Java or C. So he somehow did this in 10 days, like just worked his butt off because they were like, we need this yesterday. So he's like, all right, I'm just going to not sleep for 10 days. So he basically like rough drafted JavaScript in 10 days, but it wasn't called JavaScript at this point. It was first called Mocha, which is kind of a cute name. I like that. I could live with that. And then they turned that into LightScript, which worst name in my opinion, but okay. Right. And then finally they settled on JavaScript to make it sound like it was this lightweight cousin of Java, which I think is a good idea because then like I guess at the time Java was already a household name in the world of programming, so associating it with Java, smart thing to do. Although it is kind of slightly schemy to me because they're like totally just like saying the word in it, but I mean it clearly worked because it got a lot of popularity. So yeah. So that's like the beginning of like the first draft and version of JavaScript. So fast forward to like 96 and word got around to this up and coming tech company called Microsoft that this language is giving the user a far better experience in browsers. So what they did was actually really, really odd, but I mean, that's just tech for you. They reverse engineered JavaScript and copied it completely. So they did this.
Microsoft did this?
They did this.
Oh my God.
They did this when they introduced Internet Explorer, actually, and they called it JScript.
Yeah. What a slap in the face.
I know.
You don't even have the decency to come up with a different name.
Exactly. They could have called it LavaScript. I don't know.
Right.
And that would have been better. But that didn't really last long because the same year, it was actually decided that JS needs to be standardized some sort of way. So this is where ECMA steps in, and they acted as this neutral party. And a year rolls by, so now we're in 97, and ECMAScript is released officially with documentation for developers, and they can refer to it just like how you and me today refer to docs. But yeah, now it's widely available and standardized so that developers can actually build things, and there's nobody like copying, doing any schemy things anymore. And to this day, they're still responsible for important updates to JavaScript. So, like, whenever we hear ES5, ES6, like, the ES is ECMAScript.
Yeah.
So, in case you guys have ever been like, oh, what's ES6? Like, it stems back to ECMA doing their thing. So yeah,
So essentially, is it just considered like a revised version of or like a new standard? What is it?
yeah. So they basically they found common ground, right? So
Okay.
that there aren't these like two different versions of the exact same thing. So like not only does it eliminate confusion, but it also it just makes it easier for people all over the world to be on the same page and like for technology for people actually building new software, they don't have to decide on one or the other because I mean we're going to get into exactly how JavaScript is run, but that would have been a disaster if there were multiple versions of
Versions.
JavaScript doing basically the same thing, but if you can't run it on like a certain browser or whatever, that just would have been a nightmare. So I think it
Yeah.
was smart because also by this time there were a few different browsers out there already. So if you're going to make one native to Internet Explorer, it's a little odd because then something might not transfer to your other browser.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. I mean that's just what I think. I don't know. I could be wrong, but of course we're coming up on a lot of like crap hitting the fan over the course of the next few years because Y2K comes along and then the dot-com bubble and the stonks. But the last biggest thing that really happened was in 2008 with Google Chrome. This is when the engine for Chrome was introduced, the V8 engine, which we're gonna touch on engines a little bit later. But this is around the time where it was started, and basically just compiles JavaScript much better and actually opened the door for developers to build like more higher performance sort of applications in the browser, and then server side, which we'll also touch on later, I think. So yeah, pretty interesting history actually.
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe Al Gore took credit for it though.
I know. I wish I had this. I should have. I'll throw in the soundbite later. So future me, put the soundbite in here now.
During my service in the United States Congress, I took the initiative in creating the internet.
But yeah, he basically was like, I created the internet. Okay.
Oh, dude, please.
I mean, I always knew that the Java from JavaScript was like some sort of connection to Java, but obviously they're totally different languages. So I always thought it was funny
Right.
that it was like that. So it was cool to really like read up on history and see like how it got to the point that it is now. So
Yeah. And it's so funny. Like you said, there's a lot of like activity in this whole process, like around what, 1997
Yeah.
ish. And before, with the guys from University of Illinois, you said 93. But if you think about it, that was less than 30 years ago. And it feels like an eternity because there's been so much development, but it wasn't that long ago. Like, I mean,
oh
in other industries, like what is like 30 years? I mean, you could see, progress, but not like we've seen in tech, I think.
oh absolutely.
Especially,
Yeah.
like the internet and JavaScript and things like that.
Exactly. Well, we'll be covering more JavaScript as well, but it's going to be at a higher level, so don't stress just because we're not going to be quizzing you on how to write this sort of function or anything like that. We're just going to be doing super duper basics and talking about how it actually works. So let's say you fire up your browser and open a page. When that happens, your computer or phone, it receives some files. So this would be the big three. You get HTML, CSS, and yes, of course, JavaScript. On a basic level, there's quite a bit going on, but that is like the most basic example of what happens when you go on any sort of website or any page.
Right.
So it needs an HTML file for anything to happen. Otherwise, you won't really see anything, to my knowledge. It'll just be a blank page.
Yeah.
But the HTML file loads the JavaScript, usually with a script tag. That's like the classic way to do it. And this includes the path to the JS file in the project directory. And one easy way for you or me or anybody to actually see the power of JavaScript is to just go to any website. You're going to see buttons, animations on the scrolling, login forms, all these sorts of things that are really giving life to the page. And then, of course, some things that you won't necessarily see that JS is doing, because it also sends and gets data from the server, but that could also be a little too deep right now because I think we did an episode on data, but let me bring it back. So now JavaScript, being the only client-side language, is powering all of this because your client visiting a website, it waited to execute the code until you actually open the page on the browser. And going back to the V8 engine that I mentioned for Google Chrome, other browsers have engines as well that make running JavaScript actually possible today. So Internet Explorer has Chakra, Safari has WebKit, that sort of thing. And since you're a Firefox head, Firefox, yeah. Do you know what the engine is called for Firefox?
No.
Do you want
What is it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll give you a hint. It's a lizard, I think.
No, it's not a gecko, is it?
It is. It is gecko. Good job.
Oh, wow, really?
Good guess. There's a lot of lizards out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I might have come across it at some point, but the other ones that you mentioned, they're definitely more familiar. I think, like, especially going back to the boot camp, we were encouraged to use Chrome. So I think, that's why it's like the most familiar one. And I use it for work as well, but for personal, I kind of like use Firefox as a primary and then a few other ones just to test it out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like on a super basic level, that's how JavaScript is actually run. But there's a lot that goes on in JavaScript. So there's lots of tools. I mean, there's like front end versus the back end, everything. Yeah. So with frameworks, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a framework. Maybe you have, but there's a lot of frameworks out there that people use to actually write JavaScript. So there's React, there's Angular, there's Vue, Svelte. They just exist to make writing client-side code easier. Do you have a preference on a framework, Anna? I know everybody kind of does, and I know I do.
I've worked a little bit with React because I think for like the past couple of years after the bootcamp, even though it was a full stack curriculum, I've been in school and we've been working more, I think, on object-oriented programming languages. Yep. So I've done a lot of work with like C++ and Python. So I haven't done a lot of front-end stuff. Yes. Yeah, exactly. But for, the projects or, like my personal portfolio, like I've done raw, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but I've done a little bit of work with React as well. And Vue is another one that I wanted to to dabble in, but it was good earlier on this year when we did our React to Django project, because everything is just so much more dynamic, and once we deployed our app to Heroku, like our final project for the class, you could see like once it took a little bit to load the page, probably because we had the free account with Heroku to render everything, but once it did, it felt like you were just running the app on your local host, like it was that quick, like rendering all the components and the views and everything like that. So yeah, it's awesome. I really like working with frameworks. It takes a little bit to get like used to it, but once it's so worth it. And I think most web pages that you visit now are single page apps. And it's it just makes the whole experience very a lot more, I think, appealing and engaging to the end user.
Yeah, and developer time is huge too, so it cuts back on that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not initially, but if once you learn like the basics of JavaScript, it makes sense to get to a point where you're like, this is taking too long. Like, I get it, but it's taking a long time to do this thing. I wish there was an easier way. And luckily we have front end frameworks and libraries, so it'll save a lot of people's time. And it is really cool to see like, how much animation you can bring to the page and dynamics. So,
do you have a favorite one?
Vue, I think, is my favorite. I've never done Angular, so I can't say, and I've never tried Svelte, but I want to because I've heard really, really good things about it. And I think it's actually easier than all of them.
Really?
Yeah, that's that's from what I've heard from other people, but I've never
Oh,
touched
Gatsby
it.
is another one.
Yeah, there's a lot out there that we could go through, but yeah, the main ones are, pretty good. I think there's more jobs out there for React stuff still, but Angular is a little on the older side, so you might not see that as much. But yeah, you're gonna see React and Vue much more when you're doing your job searches. So if you're trying to be more marketable, maybe go for those. That's just my opinion. But yeah, as Anna mentioned, being the CS student that she is, that almost soon to be graduate. So JavaScript is interpreted, which means that the code is read line by line, and Python is another example of this. But with Anna, doing CS, she has more exposure to stuff that's what we would call compiled language. So like Java, C++, Go, and they run much faster than JavaScript. This way. Do you have any more insight on the more compiled languages? It's machine. What's it called? Machine code. What is that stuff
Machine
called?
language?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because there was a class that we took for like both operating systems and computer architecture. Like you start to see, in operating systems, you look at kernel code, which was written in C, and then in computer architecture, when we're talking about machine language, it was in MIPS. MIPS is like, it's hard to understand, but obviously, it does make sense. But it's not like other languages, like, other object-oriented programming languages, or even JavaScript. It's not the same way that you read it, because it's getting closer to the hardware, where like it's essentially like the software talking to the hardware to make it do things. So but like you mentioned, the compiled languages they're like, I think essentially it's, it's being run and then it gives you like an output or an action or a reaction. Now with the JavaScript, you have the need for a browser to read and interpret, therefore it's an interpreted language to interpret the code and then render what that code is supposed to be doing on the browser. So like the interpreter is essentially the engine behind the browser, that kind of gives you like that, like the result of your code. So obviously there's they're used for different means, like to solve different problems. But with I've been doing more compiled stuff lately, but I've also been doing a project at work, which it's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it's not a long JS file, I'll tell you.
Nice. You're jumping right back into JS.
Yeah, exactly. I think in that scenario, actually, because we touched on frameworks, it wasn't something because it was something I considered. I was like, should we go with, like a React project or a Vue project? And we could have, but I thought it was overkill for what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's just, it's like a password reset portal, but the Google API that we have access to already gives us so much that we can render, what we want the user to see after they authenticate. And with simple, like I've been using jQuery. And it's not, I think it is old school, but like I said, it's something so simple that I feel like there was no need to get, like a full on project with like an MVC, to do that. But we'll see. I mean, this is obviously like the first version of this app. If things kind of take off, because there has been, like some development in that department of my company. If things change, then we might have to scale up and, kind of redo it or consider, an MVC. So we'll see how it goes. But for the time being, HTML and CSS and JavaScript did it. Like it's literally, a full-on functioning app that we just have to host and talk to our users about it. But it's the 3 files. That's it, and it does everything. So
Yeah, same. Yeah, with my company, we don't use any frameworks for at least the stuff, the sort of work that I do. Like we just the big 3. That's it. Nothing
Right.
nothing super crazy in my team. But yeah, just the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and
that's awesome.
you too can have a big nice job if you just learn those 3. Like there's plenty of them out there. Of
Yeah,
course, you're going to be more
absolutely.
marketable with their frameworks and whatnot. But JavaScript is also really cool because you can do back-end work and write
Right.
write server-side code with Node.js. And with that, you can write APIs, talk to databases. You can talk to servers as well. Node is actually really fast. That's just because it uses the V8 engine from Chrome that we mentioned earlier. And there's also a really cool community in Node, I think, because we have the ability to share Node projects via npm or Node Package Manager.
Yeah.
So you can just go to npmjs.com and you can search for a package that will serve your code better, since somebody probably spent way more time on like a specific function than you ever would. npm is really cool. That was a really, really cool section from the boot camp, because I didn't learn it in school or anything. I didn't know what Node was, but yeah, Node is
Same.
really, really sweet. I really like it.
Yeah, I think a couple months ago I was working on just testing out the Twilio API to send text messages, and that's something that we kind of still have like on the backlog. I briefly like mentioned to my boss, and he's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like when you have time, keep looking at it, see if there's a way that you'd like to present this as a proposal for something in the business or whatever." Definitely not a priority, kind of like just a curiosity thing, but. Yeah, I had to, my laptop didn't even have npm installed, so had to go through all of that and then install the Twilio package through npm. But it just makes things so much easier, like you said, installing packages and being able to not have to develop things from scratch. I mean, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. I think the first time I downloaded a package, the terminal, like that's when it started to look colorful and crazy, and people, do cool terminal designs, and that like it makes you look like such a hacker when you're downloading a package.
It does.
It's so
It
dope.
does.
I love it.
Especially when you do it through Homebrew. I love that because it shows the little beer mugs. I love 'em.
Exactly.
So cute.
Yeah, Homebrew's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Why don't we talk about a little bit of like JavaScript kind of consists of, because it's very, very similar to a bunch of other languages. Because there's variables in JavaScript to hold the data.
Right.
And there's 2 different types of variables, I guess you could say. There's like a ton, but there's primitive and compound variables, where primitives are just numbers, booleans, or strings usually, but then compound variables would be your objects and arrays. So now that I have, you know what? So I actually have a really common interview question for you, Anna. Since you touched on JavaScript pretty recently, you might be able to answer. No pressure, because I know you're way more familiar with compiled languages, but can you tell me the difference between let and const?
Oh my God, I knew you were going to say that. And I was even going to ask you before you started going into the different data types. And I was like, no, I don't. I still use var. I rarely use JavaScript until recently, but I need a lesson on it. That's for sure.
Well, you learned JavaScript before that was even introduced, I think.
Yeah, because it's already been like 4 years. So
you learned during like ES5 era. And I learned right before ES6. So like by the time we were done, I started seeing let and const everywhere, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, just use var.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, it could be confusing just because var is.
I mean, I would take a wild guess that const is a variable that you don't want to have it change its type. I don't know. Is it constant?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what if like, and then if that means that let is just the exact opposite, that you would like it's a mutable variable. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I would accept
Really?
that for sure.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I would take that for sure. Yeah, so let would be used if you plan on having the value change later.
Okay.
So otherwise you would use const. So let's say you could say like const name equals Anna.
Uh-huh.
You don't want that to change probably because you're probably going to
Right.
call it later. But
Mm-hmm.
let's see. But then like you might have let I equal 0 because you're going to use it as like a counter. So
Yeah.
I mean that's what I've always
Like
understood.
age. Like my age would be a let
Mm-hmm.
because that can change.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so with I equals 0 and you're going to use it for a counter, like it's probably going to go through like 1, 2, 3, 4 for this like
Sure.
sort of loop that you might be doing.
Yeah.
So that's really the only difference. It's yeah, like Anna said, it's like a super duper common interview question. So maybe Google what it really means to use one or the other because I could be kind of off,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure that's all there is to it.
Gotcha.
You can still use var. Like you can still write JavaScript and use var and it'll run. But
Yeah.
yeah, ES6 updates, they expect you to use let and const for certain things. And it is easier because you're probably going to get less errors. Like that's really all ES updates are for. Like, to ease error handling, to get rid of certain bugs, to get rid of any sort of confusion.
Right.
I remember, I think it was ES5. No, it was earlier. It was probably ES2. Before you could actually make, let's see, you could make like the number 10 equal the string 10 with two
Ah.
equal signs, and it would be true.
Okay.
Which is weird because it's like saying like a cat equals 17 and then like the computer tells you that it's true. There was like a lot of confusion as to how we can fix that, so they decided to do three equal signs to really check the type. So now if you
Okay.
did the string 10 equals the number 10, it would come back as false because it can tell that one is a string and one is an int. So
Ah.
that's like,
Okay. So
yeah, that's like what the updates are kind of for. Whenever things like kind of come up like that, we see problems in JavaScript. They present it to a board, probably somebody approves it, and that's what happens.
gotcha. So this is where, because when preparing like some notes for today, I was looking and I saw that JavaScript is defined as a loosely typed language, which can be a blessing and a curse. I guess that's what they mean because it, like we went into the whole var, let, and const, and I don't know if like var will ever be kind of phased out, based on the fact that now you have let and const. But then,
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, you're still able to use just the double equal sign, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's like it's important to have for sure, but we also need that triple equal sign.
Right. To really, really, really check that they're equal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, another important sort of topic in JavaScript would be arrays and objects. Arrays are just multi-celled ordered clusters of data, which sounds kind of complex, but it's all, of course, not. It's like square brackets that just, you could think of it as like a list of numbers, so like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can do like a list of names, Billy, Bob, Joe, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then objects are simple because they're just dictionaries that hold data. They're a little different than arrays. So with an object, you might have an object called person, and then inside the curly braces instead of the square brackets for arrays. Instead, so inside you would have, like, for this person, you got to, define them somehow.
Right.
So you might have, like, name, age, height, that sort of thing. So then later on, when you're writing some code, you can pull out some of that data really easily. So if you want the person's name, you could just say person.name, and it would return it. That's essentially the idea with objects.
Right.
Yeah.
Love it. Your good old JSON, JavaScript object notation.
And then we have the all-seeing, all-being, the DOM.
The DOM.
The DOM. The DOM, aka the document object, is the JavaScript representation of the structure of HTML, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's held in the document object that holds all these elements that allow us to do things like search for elements, add user event listeners. That would be like on click of a button, do this action on the page, or change how the page looks. And this is possible through a set of methods called the browser API. But I think that's really all you need to know on that topic. That's like kind of a lot. But yeah, whenever you hear DOM, just, imagine that it's the document object. Just always tell yourself it's the JavaScript representation of the structure of the HTML.
Seriously, yeah, that's a great way to go to sleep and preach and keep repeating that until you fall asleep.
It's the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell for developers.
Oh my God. That was like the tag. I swear that was probably the I don't know, the line that was most said when I was taking high school biology or something.
Exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I think based on the recent work I've done with JavaScript and to like inspect and like monitor the changes that I've done on the code, while having the browser open, it's cool that the browser allows you to inspect each page to see what's going on, in terms of like the layout.
Yep.
And you can also review like the source files that are rendering everything that you're seeing. So that is what the DOM is for, is to show you what's going on, like behind the scenes when the engine of the browser reads and interprets the code and JavaScript and your HTML, CSS.
It's
and
so
then,
cool.
Yeah, I love using the the inspect, like the admin, like the console. Is that what it's called? It's called a console, right?
Like
the
developer,
console.
yeah.
Developer console. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I was just gonna look it up as well.
I know. I don't think about it. I just hit like whatever F11 or whatever it is, and then check it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been totally off topic, but I was heavily inspecting my current website because I think I got hacked, and I'm trying to figure out what happened.
I was gonna ask you. Oh my God. So I think I tried after you told me, I was like, no way. Because you sent me that picture of the message that said something really like,
no idea where it came from.
Thank you for giving me this or whatever. Or thank you for your nice project. It was so weird.
Let me see what it says. Listen to that K2 ketone.
And then, well, I tried visiting your website the other day and it wouldn't even load,
it's not
I don't
loading
think.
Right now. Dang. So weird.
Yeah, it really is.
I don't know if it's a GitHub thing, because I hosted on GitHub Pages. But I couldn't even Google what the issue was. I have no idea what's going on. It's not I really don't think it's my domain, because I went on I almost said the company name. I went on my domain name provider. And everything looks in order, like everything's fine. So
if you inspect your page now, does it show the source files or no?
I'm doing that right now and nothing's loading. So
because oh wait,
yeah, where are the source files? My computer's being very slow because my dog dropped it on the floor. There's an index file. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
No resources given, URL found. All right. Well, maybe it is a domain name problem.
Weird.
Who knows?
Yeah.
the deferred DOM node could not be resolved to the valid node. What?
Wow.
All right.
That's weird.
I
Well,
mean,
but that picture, I mean, it really looks like it was because it looked like someone typed that on the page and then,
exactly.
it was weird.
It is weird. But I mean, now I'm getting warnings, which I wasn't getting before when that happened. So now I can at least Google through
Right.
that
Right.
and figure out what's going on. Because yeah, before there weren't any warnings or errors or anything, so I couldn't even like look it up. I tried Googling what it said because it was so weird, and I don't think
Right.
English was their first language, so it was like awkward
Yeah.
to read. But yeah, I couldn't find anything on it.
Right. Well, yeah, because I found out this week that I think through my account on GitHub, I do the same thing. I have my portfolio and then my custom domain address, and that's what I have live available for people to access and stuff.
Yeah.
But with GitHub Pages, I noticed that like if you're gonna do that and you have a private repository, then you have to have like the paid account. Like with the free account, you can only have like the GitHub Pages if it's a public repository. And I don't think that's a good idea because it shows, I don't know if it's like, even if you have, the private repository, if it shows like the source file, especially if you have like sensitive information on there,
Well, I don't know. I guess okay, so let's say somehow you could make it private, but also host on GitHub Pages. You could still look at all the code, right? If you just inspect the page, like wouldn't it all still be there? You can't block it.
Oh,
My knowledge.
I mean, that's a good point. I don't even know. That's one thing that I after you show me that picture, I was like, how do you not show, like where your files are coming from?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to share, like that's your IP, like you made that. So if you go to like other companies, you can't see their code to really understand like how things are working under the hood.
You can see my
So,
code if you want for my company's stuff. It's all basically
Yeah,
out there. I mean,
I'm
except for,
sure.
obviously the most important shit, but oops.
Let me open up my portfolio site right now. Hold on. Okay, so that loads. If I
Yours is
go
down
to
too.
network, damn right.
Mine's interesting because I kind of did a loophole thing so I could have a contact form on my site because you can't have anything but a static site hosted by GitHub. So I included a PHP file that just like routes back to itself. I think I don't really remember how I did it. It was like all you have to have is a PHP file or something along those lines, and then you can get around the whole GitHub restrictions. And
Gotcha.
I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I don't know, but yeah, you couldn't have a contact form on a static site, so I had to kind of do a little
Right.
loophole thing.
Oh no, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I just have an HTML file and then some CSS. But yeah, it shows everything. I can see it all.
Yeah.
Regardless that, that my repository for it is private and
Yeah.
it's just pointing to the domain. So yeah, that's interesting because that's I mean, I don't have anything really like compromising or anything, but like if you have an app and you have to put like I don't know, keys and some sort of like authentication value,
Oh,
you
yeah.
really don't want to render that, because it's so easy to find. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure how that works, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll look into that. I want to look into that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So final thing I want to talk about with JavaScript is functions.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love functions.
Functions is where the magic happens. And they're just basically bits of code that you reuse. You can think about it that way. They include whatever name you give it, the parameters within those parentheses that act as the input, and then inside the function, my dog is going insane.
Pablo.
Inside the curly braces would be the action basically, or the output.
Yeah.
So if you want to add two numbers, let's say, you can call the function add, and then inside these parentheses that act as the parameters, you would have like input one, input two, or just first and second, whatever is easier for you. And then inside the function would be actually how they're added together. So you would just say something like return first plus second. So now the user can call this function just by typing the function name, so add, and then inside the parentheses 3 and 2, and then they're just going to get added, and you don't have to use a plus sign.
Yeah.
Not that it's
Isn't that
easier, but
great?
I mean, that's for simplicity's sake. I mean, that is exactly how a function really works. And you can also think about a function as like a variable, because you like store them for later use, just like any other variable thing. But yeah, those are really important to learn in JavaScript as well. And that's all I really want to share with you guys, because that's a lot of JavaScript.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, like you said, functions allow you and, like you as the developer or people who will read your code in the future to understand, what it is that's happening in that app or in that script. Because if you have like neatly organized functions, which I strongly abide to, because my code used to be like spaghetti code, and I still have that happen every now and then. But just yesterday, I was working on a project, not with JavaScript, but with Python, and I made an effort to have everything in functions. I mean, it was explicitly told to us that we had to steer away from using any global variables. So yeah, and I think like it's a consensus since the beginning of my degree. My professors have been saying, do not use global variables, like do not use global anything. So when you have things in your functions, you can still share, the result from like one function with another. But it just makes everything so organized. And, that after you have your functions, try to keep them, clear and concise. They don't have to be extremely dense and, long that you get lost in what's happening in it. But, just drop some comments, and your script file will be like very easy to share and to interpret by another human being, So
I leave comments all the time, because in case something goes wrong on something I'm working on, if somebody's QAing my work, they're going to want to know exactly what I did to change the code, or just whatever I did. So that if there's anything that I broke that wasn't discovered until later on when they were QAing it, they know exactly what to try first, at least to fix it, and see if they can make any connections to the code base and whatnot. So yeah, commenting is cool.
Exactly. Well, that was a good old, I think, I don't know, profile. What's the word that detectives used? We're profiling JavaScript. Is that the word? I'm not sure.
Could be.
But right. Yeah. I mean, as we know, like everyone, whether you are consciously making an effort by, developing JavaScript code, or you're just an end user, you have some sort of association with JavaScript at this point. I mean, in 2021, most if you visit a website, you have some kind of interaction with JavaScript. So, it just shows how it's it is the most popular programming language, of our time. And it has been for a long time, because a lot of our interactions with the internet takes place in a browser, and that's mainly using JavaScript. So yeah, I think we covered a good amount, no?
I think so. What do you guys think?
Leave your comments down below on YouTube, Twitter, or I don't know, wherever. Email us. I know you mentioned that last time, and no one has emailed. It's so sad.
Please
email us.
Yeah, I got our dog these buttons so that he can tell us what he wants to do. So like we have one for outside, one for treat, one for play. It looks like this, Anna.
Oh my God.
So this is the play one.
Yeah.
So he just presses it. He actually just
That's
pressed
so
it
awesome.
without even any help because he clearly wants to play. He's going insane right now.
Aw.
I do have some funny news that I want to share though.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened on May 28th. So maybe it's not news to you guys anymore, but so the UK police surprised to learn energy-intensive weed farm is actually a Bitcoin mine. So there was a so there was a sting operation. Police in the UK raided an industrial unit outside of Birmingham under suspicion that it was housing an indoor marijuana growing operation. So it had all the elements of a what are they called? Weed
Like
farm?
a weed farm?
Yeah. So, like there were like people going in and out of the building throughout the day. They spotted extensive ventilation wiring, and they also claimed that a drone was able to detect the high amounts of heat coming off the building. And I guess that's common with weed farms because indoor cannabis farms use like
The lamps, right?
yeah, all the lamps, heating, ventilation to cultivate the plants. So they were like, "Oh, this is totally a weed farm. Like, let's get in there and bust them."
Right.
So what they were actually looking at was approximately 100 or so Antminer S9 machines generating
Oh my God.
enormous amounts of heat while they minted new coins. Easy mistake to make, obviously.
Right.
And not illegal in cases where cryptocurrency miners paid their electrical bills. But these people were not paying the electrical bills.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so they were siphoning thousands of pounds worth of Maine's electricity, and as a result, shut down by the police, who thought they were gearing up for a drug raid. The mining equipment was estimated to be worth upwards of $5,000. Was seized, though nobody has been arrested. Police may not have caught a drug ring, but they likely did more good by shutting down this illicit mining setup for the environment anyway. In 2016, weed was found to account for 1% of the electricity consumption in the U.S., but for comparison, Bitcoin was estimated to be responsible for 0.25% of the entire world's electricity in 2019. So that's kind of crazy to think about. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like that much electricity. It makes sense, but I mean, still.
Right. If only we could harness the electricity and then just, I don't know, build another sun.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Wow. I thought that, I wish that article would have ended with, it was a Bitcoin farm and they were also smoking pot in there,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's a picture of the setup on this article here. I'll link it. It's not sophisticated looking at all. It looks very rough. It looks like a fire hazard waiting to happen. Let's say that.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Wires
Pretty sketch. Definitely not like... I don't know. I imagine like a very like proper, look almost like a server storage facility. I imagine one of those, but no, it looks like a bunch of car batteries on some garage tool shelf. It looks bad.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's scary. Probably is a fire hazard too.
Yeah, for sure. So for this week, I'm recommending something very, very special.
Ta-da!
The Keychron K2 mechanical keyboard.
The Keychron K2 mechanical keyboard. You know those 90s commercials?
Oh, yeah.
I want one.
Or use today.
Right.
If you order right now, you get a free extra backspace key.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love it so much. It feels good. I've never had a mechanical keyboard really. The Logitech one that I have for work, it's really weird timing, but I was getting used to it. I kind of liked it. It was like wasn't entirely mechanical, but
yeah.
Yeah, it was all right. It did the job, but
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I want to upgrade to the K2 because I've wanted it for months, and I think I'm ready for it. So I'm gonna do it. So the day after I ordered it, the D and the R on my work keyboard stopped working. So when I would type to like talk to people, it looked like I had a speech impediment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I was like, well, that's good timing that I ordered a new keyboard. So
Yeah.
I'll tell my manager. Hopefully, they can reimburse me for it. Actually, now that it's broken, so
Yeah, for sure. That'd be
pretty
cool.
epic.
Yeah, I mean, having like tools that you're comfortable with, I feel like it's so vital to do what we
Yeah.
do because we're in front of the computer, all day.
Yeah, you gotta have fun with
Um,
it too.
so yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, having a good mouse and a nice keyboard that I'm comfortable with, I just think that it makes me so much more efficient and like, faster too, because it's all about comfort and familiarity because it like, typing is muscle memory.
Yeah.
So, like if you like your keyboard and it feels good, you get used to it so fast.
Oh
So
yeah. Do you know
yeah,
your
that's awesome.
words per minute?
Man, the last time I did it, it was like 60.
Damn.
It
Solid.
was something like that. It was like 60,
Yeah.
70.
Yeah. Dylan's in the 70s officially on the
Ooh,
Keychron too. Like, which I think, and because she has a laptop, so like lower profile and stuff. So I was
yeah.
like, oh, this is gonna be hard for her. Let's see how she does. She gets a freaking 72, I think.
Damn,
Yeah,
that's
I was like,
awesome.
dude, calm
Yeah,
down. Yeah, I think I'm at like maybe 38, 40.
really. Yeah,
Absolutely
I haven't
terrible.
done it in a long time. I should probably do it just to see.
Yeah, I'm still
But
getting used to it for sure. I
mhm.
mean, I wasn't much better on my laptop keyboard, so maybe I just suck at typing. But I remember for the boot camp we had to do a typing sort of thing like that, but it was for JavaScript, and
Uh-huh.
that was interesting. I remember it took
Yeah.
so long because I most of the symbols like I'd never even touched on my keyboard before, like the backticks or like the pipes. Like
Right.
in your normal life, you don't usually use those keys, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was weird, like getting your fingers familiar with like actually navigating to those buttons at a reasonable pace.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it looks awesome. I'm happy that you got it because I know
I
that you
know.
told me about this like a while back. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Bluetooth. Oh, the other cool thing. So, my work laptop's a PC. My personal one is a Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So, it came with PC, or like the Windows little buttons that you
Uh-huh.
can easily interchange because as a tool that you can lift the keys off and put them back on with the new ones. But
Uh,
there's a switch on the side for Mac and PC, so you switch it whenever you're
uh-huh.
like ready to switch, and then you can easily switch devices by just pressing like
Ah.
function and then 1, 2, or 3, and that it
Oh,
knows
awesome.
remember the devices. So I can even use it for my phone because my phone stand right in
Really?
front of all my monitors, so I can just switch to
Uh-huh.
my phone and text with my phone and my keyboard. It's crazy,
That is awesome.
and the
Yeah, those
lights
are
are
so
epic.
good. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a mode where like if you press a key, it looks like you're like I don't know, like maybe touching on like water, and it like propagates
Oh, ripples. Oh,
ripple
okay.
effect. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's awesome. I'm stoked on it. I highly
Ooh.
recommend it. So that's why I'm
Ooh.
sharing it. The thing you're recommending is pretty epic. Speaking of calculators, I think you made a calculator, right?
Yeah, so it's funny because I think it was just a few days ago. I had this exercise that was due this weekend for school, and it's a class that we're just using Python. So I looked at the specs, for the exercise, and Augie started to bug me that he wanted to go to the park, and I was like, crap, okay, I kind of wanted to get this started, like how, I just wanted to make some comments on the file, and then I would come back home and then actually sit down in front of the computer, but he wanted to go to the park. I was like, okay, I'm not going to take my laptop. I need to find something on my phone. Boom, went to the app store and just, I don't know, like typed Python IDE or something or other. And then this one came up and it's called Pyto, Pyto. and it compiles, your code, like your Python code, and it will allow you to interact. So in the case I was building a calculator, so I could test out like the first function that I had on there, which was addition or something. And so it printed everything to the screen. I sent you a recording of the video that I did of the compiling process and everything. So
Yeah, you can actually run it. That's what blew my mind. I thought it was just like a cool
Right.
editor, but then like, you can actually run it on your phone, which is so dope.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool. I still have it on my phone. And, like I said, it's nice when you are doing not something too complicated, but sometimes like when I'm driving or I'm out and about, like I have ideas of things that I've come across or like bugs that I'm still working through. And I
Yeah.
don't want to like write it down. I kind of just wanted to test it out. So
Yeah.
this would be, like a good scenario for it. Because I think
What
you
a
could even import it
geek.
from. I know, seriously.
You're just at
God.
brunch, you're like,
But
oh, I just figured it out.
yeah, I was driving home
It
today
happens though.
from when we went to IKEA, and I was talking to Sam, but then
Sam, take the
something like
wheel.
an idea for, yeah, take the wheel. I have to code right now. I had an idea of something to try out for this project at work. So obviously, that I just had to make like a mental note for,
Yeah.
because it's JavaScript, not, Python. But it's I don't know. I just thought that it was a cool recommendation. It's free. Like the app was free as far as I know. I don't know if they have like oh, actually I think I have the free trial. That might be why. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure what the paid rate is, but yeah, check it out. It's a cool, little app to have on your phone, and it works pretty well. So I like it.
Heck yeah. I mean, yeah, that's handy because, like you said, like you never know when you're actually gonna have that aha moment of something you're currently working on.
You never know when you will want to show off your programming skills. So
Oh,
you
that
need to
too.
have a
Yeah,
Python IDE on your phone.
exactly. There's been times where it was more in the boot camp because I guess I was just more stressed about coding because I was still really learning it in the basics and
Yeah.
whatnot. But um, like with homework and stuff, I could never finish it like super duper early. I would always try to get it done as early as possible because I was also working
Right.
at the same time. But there were times where I was like down to the wire, like I had to, I submitted it very last minute. But during those times, it was because like I just needed time to like recuperate and like wait for that aha moment to actually come to me so I can figure out how to do like some sort of JavaScript thing usually, because that was probably like a more complicated topic because I had never done JavaScript before. But I learned C before, which was nice because JavaScript is very C-like in syntax and Java-like. But yeah, there were times where like I actually had a dream or two about solving the problem, and that was how I woke up and I was like, whoa, that's how you do it, and then I did it.
Right. Yeah, isn't that crazy? It happens to me all the time, and especially
Hmm.
these past few weeks, because I've been like head down coding for the past couple of weeks, kind of like in a sprint,
Yeah.
So I told Sam just a few days ago, I was like, I need to take a break, and maybe like this upcoming week. It's already nice that we have the holiday, on
Hmm.
Monday, so it will be like one less day that I really have to do that. And I like solving the problem, but it can be so mentally draining after like a full week of programming for like 5 hours like a day or 6 hours a day. And then I kind of have to switch gears to school stuff, which is more programming. And I'm more than happy to do so, but it is very demanding. Like the mental workload is it's insane, to the point that I feel like I'm physically tired, So it's yeah, I mean, it's awesome though, like when you have that bug and then you're like, I'm just gonna step away from this. I'll take a look at it tomorrow. And then in the morning you're like, oh my gosh, I could feel myself programming in my sleep, like actually seeing. I
Yeah.
mean, that happened to me yesterday because
Wow.
I finished the homework, the Python calculator last night, and I couldn't go to sleep. So I was up until like 1:30 in the morning, went to bed, and I had a dream about the actual project, even though I already submitted, pretty happy with that version that I have. But I was like, now, like when I woke up this morning, I was like, was there something else I could have done? Because I feel like I made that really, really like, straight to the point, because I had a lot of redundancies in my first version that was functional, but then I went back and refactored everything to make it very, like a non-repetitive, and make like one function that gets used like several times instead of having to write the same block of code in each function. So yeah, it was just I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
It's so funny that one Python thing that we did for the Excel files or the CSV files that one time, the approach that I used to prevent multiple blocks of code or like different functions for each file is what I did yesterday.
Oh, perfect.
With one parameter added to the function, I got rid of 6 functions.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it looks Helen. I'm pretty proud of, like how how it looks right now. And then I don't know. I just feel like that is the way that my brain works. Like obviously I tried to get it working first. When I am happy with that, then I just try and make it better, obviously. And luckily I had time on my side. Like I submitted it on time and everything, but I'm much more happy about this, the second version than the first, because it would have been so like, Jesus Christ, did she just start this degree? Did she not learn anything by now? But yeah, that's the beauty of getting experience. I feel like that only happens the more you do it, really.
Yeah, you can't learn that overnight for sure.
Yeah, you got to learn to walk before you run.
Yep. All right. Well, with that being said, do you have anything else do you have any last words or anything?
No, I think just wanted to wish everybody a good Memorial Day, and we'll talk to you next week. Yeah.
Tech heads out.
Peace.